it's the moment of the transfiguration. And all of a sudden Jesus starts glowing in the dark, and, he finds himself, there with Elijah and Moses. And what I think about with Peter in that moment is like, this is a guy who from the time he could walk, and from the time his first memories were formed, he was hearing these stories about Moses and Elijah, these characters that one of them conquers the Holy Land, the other one cleanses it of an occupier and of corruption, the corrupted religion, which was what Elijah was about. And he's living there, and he's living under Roman occupation, and the people of Israel have been humiliated for 600 years, and he's desperately hoping and praying for this redemption that's going to come, where they're going to be set free, and that's the picture of it. And his reaction to seeing Moses and Elijah appear on the mountain next to Jesus is he walks up and he says, the text actually says, Lord, this is a great moment. Shall I build tabernacles for us so that we can stay here? And it's almost a childlike response, right? Like, wow, this is incredible. Can we just stay? Can we make this last? How long can we make this last? And I think for many of us that are Christians, we've been through seasons in life where if we could have pressed a button and made things, sort of frozen everything in time so that nothing changed, right? Like you think about those moments in your life where the marriage was good, the family was good, the church relationships were good, work, whatever it was. If you could freeze time from that moment, you would have wanted to do that. And of course, what happens in the story is basically the moment he says that, Jesus stops glowing, Moses and Elijah are gone, they're going down the mountain, and the next thing they encounter is a child who's been having seizures, tormented by demons and having seizures its entire life and throwing itself into a fire. So he goes from this moment of glory to this encounter with like walking death, right? And but he doesn't recognize the way those two things are connected. And he doesn't and he hasn't processed fully yet that Jesus is telling him, I'm going to Jerusalem to die. So anyway, so I think that's when I talk about our false expectations, I think we're all kind of like that. Like we have we go through, especially our early years in the Christian life. And when I say years, I mean decades of the Christian life with just a grand sense of optimism about changing the world and everything else. And many, many Christians these days are finding themselves, people like me find themselves at midlife and they go, man, it felt like we were going to change the world. And right now it feels like we've fallen flat on our faces. And I don't know how to reconcile those things anymore. The temptation is to lash out and to blame everyone around us. And I think that's where you see some of the kind of deconstruction phenomenon. Oh, the problem is the theology. The problem is the institutions. The problem is whatever. And that may be the case. Like there may be issues. There's, that's a conversation probably worth having to a certain extent. But what I wanted to kind of press into in the book is to say, well, what about our own expectations? What about, and what role does that play? And you just have so many examples in the Bible of characters who had to rethink their expectations. And that's exactly how Peter's story ends. Peter's story ends on a beach in the Sea of Galilee with Jesus, where Jesus basically telling him, look, you thought you were going to be a warrior and a conqueror, and I'm telling you there's going to come a day when somebody binds your hands and takes you where you don't want to go, like meaning you're going to get crucified, which he does. And it's wisdom is recognizing that that way, that path of what is it that Eugene Peterson called it, like the path of descent. That's the better way, and because it's the way. What you find in that path of descent is communion with God, and once you find that, that's the pearl of great price, right? Like that's the thing that you sell everything for, and including your own life.